Today we're going to be changing out a power jack, micro USB to mini USB. Actually, the other way around. Mini USB to micro USB. So what I'm talking about is one of these. And we're going to be changing it to one of these. I got this kit for like $8 on AliExpress, and it's been pretty good. Yeah. We all know mini USB, micro USB. These you don't have the cables for anymore. What we're dealing with here is power charging boards, TP4056 charging board. And I'm going to try to zoom in here a little bit, or a lot. Oh yeah, that looks good. There, even focused nicely. So this has out plus battery out. So it's got in and outs plus battery outs. If you're wondering why I have these, they still sell them on eBay, and I wasn't paying attention when I ordered. What it does is it charges the battery, and then when you unplug it, or if you have it plugged in, it doesn't really matter. The voltage coming out on these outs can come from the battery. It also comes from the USB port if it's plugged in. So that like overrides the battery when it's plugged in, and then when you unplug it, then the battery takes over. These come in strips like this sometimes, and they just snap apart easily. So this is the old, and we want to change to the new. And if you look at it, it's got connection there, 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 and there. It's flat. The connections come out flat from the bottom. They don't go through the board, although there are these two guide holes here that aren't going to help us any. But if you can see, wait for that to get in focus, there. The pin on the left, the pin on the right, and the back, the little ones, are the only ones connected. The other two have no. I'm actually going to flip over to this other camera just so we can see it a little bit better. Focus. There we go. They have nothing connected to them. They're just sitting there floating in free space. So anyway, what we want to do is remove that, put that on. But to do that, we're going to have to bend this one a little bit because it does not have flat parts. This is actually, even though it came from the case, this is actually the same thing that's on here. I know because this isn't my first one. But as you can see, they're not the same. This one just has to be bent, and they don't exactly match distance-wise either. So that's going to be a problem, but we're going to work around it. So to begin with, we need to sort of bend those. I'm not loving the look of that. Let's pull it out just a little bit. I want them even with the bottom. It's important. We're also going to have to bend these out a little bit. They're not the same exact distance, but not much. I usually do this with my nifty magnifying glasses on, which look like this. A little light, see really good, rechargeable, awesome, highly recommend. But for the sake of the video, can't really get away with that. These two on the sides with the pins are the most important ones because those are the only ones that actually get flat on the solder pads. Not perfect, but it'll work. To move this one down just a bit. Oh no. Yeah, it's a little high. Can't be too high. Won't work. All right. It's a life lesson there for you. All right, so I'm just going to put this back in here. And let's move this out of the way. And grab the nifty 3D printed vise that I got the STL from Thingiverse. See how this looks here. Yeah. All right. There's a couple ways we could get this done. We could solder it, unsolder it with soldering iron. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to cheat and use a hot air gun. So I got it nicely sticking out the end. And we're going to bring in our hot air gun here. All right, I'm going to set it around 400 Celsius, and I've got the blower on 5.5. It could be higher. I like to use ceramic tweezers when dealing with hot air. Not much to it. All right, so this one's off and good. I might, if I wanted to use it, clean it off a little bit, but you see what we're dealing with as far as comparing these two. So there we go. We're going to want to clean off this extra old solder. And got up to 316 degrees there. Probably could do hotter. Pretty. Now we have the dilemma of these pins. These pins on the outside have to be moved out a little bit. I'm just going to use my thumbnail a little bit. I'm a little bit better with my fingernails than I am with tweezers. That's too much. It's just a little under 45-degree angles, like 36, something like that. Push that out just a touch more again. Come on. There. Are we clear? So yeah, that's what I ended up with. We'll see what it looks like on here. I'm realizing right now that the last one that I did is different from this one. And this one is going to be a little bit better. Yeah, nice. All right, so that's probably about where I want it right there. There. So let's just tack it down without moving it. Without moving it, I said. We need to move it back just a touch. Because we want that to work. All right, so I got it on here and it was a little off and I fixed it, nudged it over, everything looked cool. I was about to solder down these last left and right pins and I realized that the whole thing was off camera because I'm not used to being super focused in like this. So I'm going to do it again. Hopefully this time it's visible. One trick that I did to get everything flat was with this on here, crank it down so that these pins are properly flat. If they're too high, then that's obviously not going to work. And we've already discussed you can't be too high. Life lesson. All So this pin was good. This pin was a little dicey. That looks good there. So we put it way in. Then everything is going to work nicely. One thing that isn't an issue on this particular one, but was an issue on another one I did, was that it had little pegs that are supposed to go in these holes, but this doesn't match that topography of where the pegs are, and so it kind of stood off the board a little bit. This doesn't have them. They were sort of like right there, and I just cut them off with some side cutters. Let me see if I like this. I do like that. I do like that. So let's move it back as far as we can. So right about there, a little bit into the pad. And all I'm doing here is I'm making sure that those pins line up properly, because if they don't, then I'm going to have to move this thing later. Now, you'll notice that these pins don't reach anymore. So, support pins. They're a little bit off, but that's all right. It's all right. I mean, it's not ideal, but we still get all the connections we want and everything will work. And I just moved it. I'm going to try something here. So this is blue tack. It seems to be the craze these days. Now you don't have to use blue tack. If you have steady hands. And again, if you use blue tack, then you got to clean it all up. And I clean up blue tack with blue tack. Let's see, how's that looking? Looks good under there. It's not perfectly straight up top, but I'm going to be okay with that. Or maybe it is straight. Again, you don't want to get it inside. That's bad. I've already tinned, as you can see. And by tinned, I mean just putting a little bit of solder on each of those two outer lines. So it's got power and ground, and then there's the 3 data lines in the middle. Well, they're pads that are lines. So I just want to make sure I extend that back to the actual pin coming from the USB jack. That'll do that one. And that'll do that one. Yeah, it's quick. That part's the quick part. Notice the 3 middle pins, the outer pins. There, that's a good focus. You see it's kind of globby here and there. I could go back and clean that up. Probably not with that soldering iron tip. My TS100 has a much nicer small tip. But I'm not unhappy with that, and I'm pretty sure it's going to work. We'll see. If we plug this in, we get our little lights. I don't know if you can see the lights. I don't know how well that red light's showing up. There we go. You can kind of see it. Let's check it out. The out gets 4.1, so that's whatever the circuitry is letting through from the USB cable. And then this inner one is the one that would be charging the battery. And based on what it is sensing back from the battery, it knows when to stop charging. So these charge the battery, but they also accept current back from the battery, and then we'll put those on the outs if this isn't plugged in. So while this is plugged in, it's charging and supplying power And then when this is unplugged, charging stops, of course, and power switches over to from the battery, come from the battery. So not that we're talking about this, but that's how that works. So yeah, that's on there. That's on there good. Like, it's not coming off. I don't want to damage my... So yeah, that's all there is to it. Again, if it were data, if we had to deal with data lines, then we'd have to also solder those 3 in the middle, which would be a little trickier, but definitely doable. If you want to get started on doing that, these are probably good to practice on and then move up. I may do a video about doing data ones, or an example of a data one. So yeah, hopefully this will inspire you to replace all those old boring jacks that you don't have the cables for anymore and upgrade them to something that is only slightly out of date, since USB-C is the thing. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you've already done this or if you have any problems. Check my channel. I'll have other videos coming up. I got some cool reviews of some cool stuff, including this puppy right here. This was $18, maybe $15. I don't remember, but it's got T12 tips on it, and I got 2 that came with it. It's such a good deal. It's simple, it's portable, it heats up pretty quickly. It's not super fast, but it's got the direct drive tip. That's just phenomenal. And then I got power supply I'm going to be reviewing. This thing is the bee's knees. At least it is for me. I'm so impressed by it. It's so small. It has a little carrying case. It's portable too. It plugs in, like I can take the plug that was in the soldering iron and I can plug it in here. Boom. And then I can have power. 12 volts coming out of that thing. See? If I put these together, we can see the amps running through. I'll melt the cables if I'm not careful. That's just crazy. It's so awesome, so convenient. And it takes up to 70 volts. What? Dang, it's just amazing. And it's got controls so that you don't overpower when you do overpower. So you can override the protections and run more power than most power supplies would let you, because they short circuit, their circuit protection kicks in. And you can control how much of that happens. It's just phenomenal. So probably, I don't know how interested you'll be in seeing the review anymore. I would say go buy that thing. It's the FNI RST DC6006L. It was $30. It was $30 delivered. I had to wait like 2 or 3 weeks from China. The same with this. This was $18 and it was like 2-3 weeks to come. It was worth it just for the tips. Unbelievable deal. Anyway, that's all for me this time. We'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.